Dzień dobry, nazywam się Joanna Leśnierowska, a to jest trzecia odsłona cyklu Co nam zrobi taniec, który realizujemy razem z Warszawskim Obserwatorium Kultury w oczekiwaniu na otwarcie pierwszej instytucji dla tańca w Warszawie. W ramach tego cyklu pochylamy się nad zagadnieniami sprawczości i odpowiedzialności społecznej choreografii. Dzisiaj rozmawiam z Monicą Gillette oraz Gwen Hsin-Yi Chang, dyrektorkami artystycznymi Tanz Triennale, którego pierwsza edycja odbędzie się w Hamburgu w czerwcu przyszłego roku. Razem zadajemy sobie pytanie o to, dlaczego taniec jest ważny, jaka jest jego soft power, jaką wiedzę generują artyści tańca i choreografii oraz jak możemy się tą wiedzą dzielić, a także czego artyści tańca mogą nauczyć się od publiczności. Oczywiście rozmawiamy także o samym Tanz Triennale i jego misji. Rozmowa została nagrana w języku angielskim. Gorąco zapraszam do odsłuchania i oglądania. Hello, Monica. Hello, Gwen. Thank you very much for finding time to meet and share your ideas, experiences, and beliefs on the quite burning question why dance matters and what is its agency and what it can what it can bring to us personally and as communities. And I would be very happy to hear your knowledge based on your long-term professional experience, but hopefully also personal experiences. So maybe let's start just from there. How do you think, how do you believe, why dance matters? What is its power?
Gwen, do you want to go first, or shall
Maybe
I?
Monica, you go first.
Yeah, first of all, thank you very much for inviting us to do this. I find these moments always really important, also for one to collect one's thoughts and to pull them together. And yeah, thank you. So maybe I react first from this personal place. I'm a former professional dancer, and I think the whole time that I was dancing, I always had, meaning on stage, I always had this question in the back of my mind of what else is all of my knowledge good for? Like, where else can my dancers' knowledge kind of embed or be in dialogue with or reach out beyond this intensity that we do to put a show on stage? Like, so when I ended up stopping dancing professionally, that question was the main thing that motivated me. And many projects unfolded from that question of trying to understand what are the unique skills that dancers possess, and what are the many ways that it can interface with other sectors or with other people in society and whatnot. And so then another 10 years followed, which were really deepening those questions in many different areas. That can look like, what happens when dancers are inside of a museum and they're questioning the role of a live body interacting with the public, and how does this transform the museum into an experience rather than a place of consumption? And how are then we more aware of the people that we're there with, and how, because of a dancing body or an embodied body that's working with choreographic tools, how does this make us more conscious of how the artwork is entering our own bodies? And so these kind of questions, or how can the skills that dancers possess or have or grow constantly play a role in the way we receive refugees and migrants coming across borders? This was another project that I was involved in called Migrant Bodies Moving Borders. And there were active questions of what can dance artists facilitate or shift in ways of thinking or being together with people that are struggling to make it across a border or fleeing a situation through forced displacement and landing somewhere where they very often are not so welcomed, actually, or coming from trauma or stress. And so I personally became really involved in many different projects. Another one that I should maybe mention is the role dance can play for people living with Parkinson's. So this is a movement disorder. And where does dance and how does dance meet people that are confronted by a movement disorder where they might not be able to move in a way that they were familiar to move, or suddenly they're dealing with freezing or slowness of movement, or and that's like a physical reaction. Like, how can dance like bring people into movement, but also how can the way we're dancing together also shift one's personal awareness of their own identity or their own capacity to be able to move. So that's just like a little maybe a little entry to start from. And maybe, yeah, Gwen, I pass it to you to have also a chance to kind of launch from this first question from Joanna.
Yeah, I originally come from Taiwan, where you can find dance everywhere in public space. And I think I'm quite fortunate because my father, he is a passionate dance teacher for social dance, for ballroom dance. And he is a self-taught teacher. And so I witnessed when I was really young and kid, and he taught, self-taught himself, went to club and went to dance everywhere. And then also then learning how to teach classes from waltz to tango, different kind of. And so he started to teach dance classes and in his own way and in different kind of community center, and also so-called meeting point for dance. And that could be in park, could be also in the physical building where every people, every kind of ages, they can also have accessibility to their, and it's a free subscription. So I think that is also a starting point why I feel that kind of strong connections, how dance can bring people together and how to connect socially, because dance is social and it's a social activities, and where we can find it in different kind of occasions, through wedding, through different kind of occasions we would like to celebrate, but it could also very ritual. For example, there are also indigenous communities in Taiwan. They also dance a lot and singing a lot. So that's the kind of context where I'm from. And starting my career as a dance producer, and then stepped into dance programmer and working in the National Theater in the past few years, I found out that was really influential if we could also create spaces for people who can come in and out, and also to share their dance practices in a very visible way. And then people will automatically, even intuitionally, feel they are welcoming, they would like to join, they want to move, without really, processing first the brain, but really you feel that dynamics that you like to move. So I think dance is a powerful agency element in daily lives. It's not only about that a kind of art form that we can only watch or to look at, but how to experience that and share that experience, to pass it on. I think it's important.
Mm. You pointed out a beautiful aspect of dance practice that is actually bringing us together, communities, and despite of our dance abilities or dance knowledge. I would actually like to come back for a moment to experiences of Monica also, because you mentioned you were through different experiences, different projects you have been involved, you've been questioning what skills dancers and choreographers develop and master that could be used on embedded in a daily life of others. And I'm really particularly very much interested in that as well. So what does it mean to allow artists to work on a regular basis with this in mind? What is the knowledge dance people, not only dancers, but also producers, presenters generate that could be supportive for larger groups of people, especially in the hard times of multiple crises that we are now going through?
Yeah. I mentioned at the beginning some of these Creative Europe projects that I was a part of. From the support of European funding, I was able to join several projects that were across borders, so always involving a minimum of 4 countries up to more numbers, with a common question. And after being on some of these projects where sometimes it was hard to describe, like to find the language exactly, we were watching the role dance played in society, but sometimes it is hard to find the language around it to really explain why or how it's having an impact. And from that, I was involved in 2 cycles of a project called Empowering Dance, which is looking specifically at what soft skills are being developed while we dance. And soft skills were designated by the World Economic Forum as the most important skills of the future, for many reasons, but some of it being because going towards AI and technology and having reduced social contact and reduced human interface, but also because of what we're facing as a society. And soft skills can look like, or can be, conflict resolution, recognizing one's abilities. Self-efficacy is one of my favorite, which is the belief in oneself to be able to accomplish something. Managing emotions, so recognizing and navigating one's emotions. These are just a quick selection. But the first cycle of that project was taking different case studies in different countries where dance artists were working with what we call non-professional dancers. So working with people from society who don't identify as dance as their profession. And we had different case studies of different types of dance activities of professional dancer in these settings, looking at what soft skills were happening in these settings. And the first round was just basically proving that they were happening. And in fact, they were. And the second round was then I co-authored with Dr. Sarah Houston, a guidebook that supports dance artists to be able to reflect and identify the soft skills that are living inside of their practice. So to talk about soft skills, this is like one way that you can concretely look at that when people dance together, they're creating the skills that they need for the future, well, for now and the future. We have to stop talking about only the future, but also now. And a lot of it is about how to be together, how to have a stronger awareness around one's own, what's happening in one's own body, and how that's relating and interfacing with people that might have very different experiences from your own. And I think that that's one of the most important intersections. Gwen said it's about bringing people together, and it's especially vital and important when these cultural centers and dance centers and places of dance, which are often inherently international because dancers are coming from all over the world to come together to dance. So you're immediately and very often having intercultural, constant cultural, intercultural exchanges all the time. And what are the skills that we embody as dancers that support us in navigating those situations and navigating these moments where we might encounter someone who thinks really differently from us, or moves really differently, or has different beliefs and thoughts, and how do we stay together, be together, stay together, exchange, learn about each other. These are vital roles in society, especially now, right now, when polarization is just increasing beyond our imaginations, as well as more concrete conflicts of conflict zones and war zones, and how is our bodies and how is the dance practice supporting us in resilience, and also supporting us of being with differing approaches and differing opinions and mindsets that we might encounter in these settings.
Mm-hmm.
I hope that wasn't too swimming, but
No.
Yeah.
No, I think it's a very important, and you brought exactly the notion that is very close to me of a soft skills,
Yeah.
soft agency and soft power, which actually is proving to be the most sustainable,
Yeah.
bringing the most sustainable effects. And that I also believe that this is one of the major agencies of dance, practicing dance and encountering dance. However, whenever I think about it, I would love to learn whether you already had experiences like that and how did you manage. The major question is how to meet the people we would like to share our knowledge with. So, as you know, Warsaw is happily expecting finally opening of a first ever dance venue, and soon after, hopefully also first ever city institution dedicated to dance. And the question is burning. One of the areas that is always the most challenging is so-called the area of audience development and how to reach and how to share the knowledge we mastered, generated together over the years. I'm very curious and would be very grateful if you share some of examples of your practices from your programming and project based spheres. How do you think how we can share the knowledge, how we reach out to people?
Yeah. Gwen, do you want to respond to that first and I follow up?
Yeah, first of all, I would like to congratulate Warsaw and to you also that having this beautiful coming project, because I really believe that every great city needs to have a dance center, have a good venue for dance, because that is a meeting point to bring people together. And I really feel that all this development is meaning that to engage communities and how to open the door and make that space welcoming as possible. I think that is one of the key for that physical space, but also not only that physical space, but software that we mentioned, soft skills, but also the people who are running that space, how they can transfer those soft skills and thinking and vision to make that space as open as possible, and to create a different kind of activities to invite different communities, such as in capital Warsaw, and there's so many different cultures or people that could also find their own space in that center. Yeah, Monica, maybe you could.
Yeah, I think it helps to maybe establish or create some anchor programs that people, the audience or the public can know, hey, every Monday night, I'm actually invited to also come dance myself. It's not just to watch, it's also to do. And I think also within contemporary dance, dance artists have like really wide spectrum of artistic practices. And I think that those artistic practices have so many different intersecting points, whether it be with other dance, with sectors outside of the dance field, or with specific topics with people in society. And I think that there's many different approaches. I mean, to speak from a personal entry point that I think was very life-changing for me was the very first one that I did with it wasn't just with professional dancers and people living with Parkinson's, but also with scientists. So it was like a triangle, constant space of inquiry between different types of experiences. So it was called Störung Hafra'a. It was a German-Israeli project. And it was between dance artists and scientific researchers and senior scientists, as well as people who have the lived experience and expertise of living with Parkinson's. And it was a one-year project with roughly 10 to 15 dance artists in 2 different countries, and about 16 young researchers in 2 different countries, on scientific researchers coming from many different disciplines. And at the center was some central questions and common themes that we were questioning. Could be anything from identity, how your identity shifts once you've had a diagnosis, and where does artistic practice perhaps inform or provide new approaches to recreate or regenerate or find resilience inside of a changing identity. That's maybe one intersecting point. there were interesting, really hot discussions around what we all meant by embodying an idea. Once you've embodied a concept, like when does it become felt or real knowledge? Let's say real knowledge is a tricky term, but it was very interesting. The scientists were thinking about embodied from the place of when they put in Parkinson's, sometimes you can have a chip put in your brain to help to control the symptoms, called deep brain stimulation. And so the doctors and researchers were looking at when the chip is embodied into one's body and identity. And we were like, once you embody a concept and you know it from a place of lived experience. So these interfaces, these intersections, you know, first of all, it was also just giving the chance that dance artists could recognize the depth of knowledge that they have through years and years and years of experience, which often isn't recognized, because the way it's recognized is very limited. It's like if you can dance well on stage, rather than the depth of knowledge that can be in dialogue with a scientist or be in dialogue with someone that is dealing with freezing, you know, like in their body, which is a symptom of Parkinson's. So I think that if you ask the question, like how to engage the audience, I think that there's some really beautiful examples of some specific things for different parts of the population where there's a lot of knowledge already there. And how can the dance artists that are living there also share their knowledge in some specific encounters to really, and that it's really reciprocal exchange and not only one way, but really that like, how can these communities come together and learn from each other? Because I learned one of the pathways that I learned the best of the knowledge that I had been training for 30, 40 years had been through the encounters with people who had Parkinson's or with the scientists, or like through that exchanges, it was revealed to me and I was able to develop language around it.
Yeah, and I would also like to add that to create some programs with specific focus to invite people to join, experience, and do dance, then that would be very helpful, because I used to program a dance community project called 365 plus dance. So it's like every week, Wednesday and Friday night, even Wednesday or Friday night, that for 1 hour, we invite different kind of dance artists from local, but surround that dance center, art center, or a bit far in the region, and to give their classes and with different kind of dance topics. And then started with 20 people from, I don't know, nowhere is a free admission. But then now after certain, that started in 2018 and then still running until now. And every time it's over 150 people. Yeah, so you never know where people came from, but they also have gained good experience and to learn new people and learn different dance styles. And that is the space that the art center or the dance center can host for people who would like to experience that, share.
And Gwen, you have this privilege of having insights into two really big different cultures, and you just said earlier how dense culture the Taiwanese culture is. I have a feeling that especially in Europe, we lost a little bit this ability and regular practice of dance. Can you tell us a little bit more? What was your experience when you decided to move to Europe for good and engage here? Was it any possibility to transfer some experiences or formulas from the Taiwanese, the Asian communities into Europe? And what was the adventure of doing so?
Yeah, thank you, Joanna, for asking this question. It's a big question, and it's very interesting for me to look back and now to share this observation as migrant body, and then carry on different cultural heritage, and in between traveling back and forth between Europe and Asia. And I think the privilege, to become a person who has this ability to travel back and forth. I think in Asia, most of the countries or circumstances, the infrastructure is always very challenging. And from political side, but also economic side, but geographic and natural catastrophes. And that's also one of the reasons I feel that where I'm from is always start doing and learning, and then we come together and talk about what we have been experienced. But of course, we think ahead, but then we always put in actions, and taking actions and practice, and then we can examine what is wrong, we can improve. And I think sharing is always the key from every level, from social level, from the daily life basis, including the meals. And that is very different from what I learned or I experienced in Europe. And I think from the dance perspective, I think in Europe, there's always not always, but I mean, the infrastructures have different ways to distribute dance or to make dance. And also a lot of the dance educations are behind institutional wise. And yeah, I think the challenge for me is to maybe to find my own communities in most of the European context, but same-wise, I have also multiple identity, I would say. And I think that also I felt it could be, takes also time to learn and understand which country, which culture and countries, the different contexts, and how I can also find my own space or find my place there. And yeah, I think I see myself also most of time in Europe context like minority. So I think it's also how I would like to this desire to hold a space for this voices mostly invisible or not easily heard. Yeah, I hope that I answer your question.
Yeah, but it's actually very interesting because when you talk about the challenging infrastructural situations in Taiwan, I of course immediately think about the challenges of infrastructural situation in Eastern Europe, for example, and in Poland. We are meeting here on occasion of expecting the first ever dance institution to be opened in Warsaw, a capital of quite big European country.
Yes.
So far really had no place dedicated to this art form, and that also of course shows that the situation of Europe is not also the same in every corner, right? I mean, we are really, I am supporting my colleagues in Warsaw on their way to their dance place, but it is actually a doing of a generation of artists lobbying and advocating for finally getting their home, a home for their practice, their home for their audiences to be opened, and it's extremely exciting, of course, but it's very interesting, of course. Maybe Monica will now smile a bit because I will always come back to the fact that one of the skills that dance also equips us with is maintaining an open attitude to whatever is there already to be worked with, rather than to expect everything to be provided. And all this improvisational skills that we gain through dance training and dance practice is allowing us to be creative and respond to the only one thing we can be sure in life, which is change. So in a way, this is one of my favorite topics, of course, how the not only sharing dance practice and dance performances, but also inviting people to open up and not be afraid of creativity that is brought through dance improvisation is actually also enriching our life experience, our presence in the reality that is always challenging us. And Polish dance that is struggling for years and years with lack of many things, not only infrastructure, but also proper financial support, and never had a kind of a long-term strategy worked out for its development. It's also one of the proofs how incredible power it is, the joy of dancing, the joy of dance sharing, and how it brings us back our bodies, that it brings us back agency, that we are able to move, to decide how, where we want to move, and also to inhabit not only dedicated for dance spaces, but also to make a whole world our one big dance venue, dance space, dance zone in which we can meet.
So I have a question for you, Joanna. Do I have it right that, because I've encountered this in a few different Eastern European countries, that there is a space for theater, but there's not necessarily a space for dance?
Yes, in our
So-
context, theater tradition is very well established and also a big monumental, especially in Poland. Theater has been always very relevant, spoken theater, but also funny enough, interesting enough, in the times after the war, when we were under the Russian regime, communistic regime, and the censorship was really limiting enormously the possibility of spoken theater to be really relevantly discussing the current situation, there has been a very interesting development of physical theater and all this mixed forms of theater and movement theater that could become a missing link in our history for dance, which doesn't unfortunately did not happen after 89. So we still in Poland we still miss dance houses. We have none. Not national, not regional. There is, of course, plenty of dance initiatives, dance festivals, and artists are working and constantly sharing their art and dance and inviting audiences for dance. And we know audiences are growing, but still this art form did not been recognized as relevant by our cultural authorities.
Which is remarkable, because I've encountered several Polish dance artists and choreographers and outside of Poland, throughout Germany and also in other countries. And every time I encounter one, I find them incredibly strong artists. So what you just said about knowing how to make something out of nothing, it should not be the standard and it should not be accepted, but we have already seen what has evolved inside of that context. And I'm really happy for you all to finally get this space, because if what has already happened has already been very strong and defining as artistic voices and within dance, imagine now when the conditions can be there and the visibility can be there, what can happen now? It's very exciting.
Yeah, we are also very excited and very grateful for the city of Warsaw that they opened up to this idea of also shaping the institution together with the community. So we are in this process already for a while, but actually you are waiting and shaping a new event, and you became directors of Tanz Triennale. That is first edition gonna happen next June. And it's also a very particular concept of the event that replaced Tanz Congress organized in Germany for several years. Can you please expand a little bit and share with us the idea behind Tanz Triennale? What event it's gonna be? How did you imagine it? And how you're gonna implement some of your core beliefs we just spoke about also within this format?
Gwen, do you want to kick it off?
Yeah, Tanz Triennale is definitely a very exciting project, and that is started from an open call last year, and then we, of course, have the shared vision and also values and some beliefs behind, and we apply for this project and also to elaborate our concept behind. And yeah, Triennale is a 3-year dance initiative, and we kick off also an 1-year program already started from now. And they're also including different formats. And Triennale is, of course, supported by Kulturstiftung des Bundes in Germany. It's a cultural foundation, federal cultural foundation. And then also from the BKM, this Behörde is Ministry of Culture of Hamburg. Yeah, so that is our main founders, and we also have important main partners in Hamburg, which consist of Hamburg Ballet and K3. It's a choreography center, and Tanzplan, and also Kundenage. Yeah, that there are 3 institutional partners, and beyond these 3 institutional partners, and there are also around 30 different organizations and backgrounds, LOI partners, letter of intent, that they supported this application of Triennale for Hamburg as a hosting city. Yeah. So Monica,
maybe to take a step back, this transformation from the Tanz Congress, which was happening already in Germany every 3 years, it would move around the city, around the country to different cities, always hosted by different institutions. And it was for dance professionals. It was a moment for dance professionals to come together, to reflect, to talk about what's needed right now, what's relevant right now, what's happening. And with the new vision of from transforming the Tanz Congress to the Tanz Triennale, which is a beacon project, what they call a Leuchtturm project in Germany. It's also was a transformation that it's not only for dance professionals, but also to open up to people in the society and to the public, and to take on the question of the role of dance in daily life and the role of dance in relationship to people who dance is not their profession. So this was already a big step of transformation inside of what we're doing, but also cities in Germany had the chance to apply to kind of win the Tanz Triennale for their city. And there were already some constructions inside of it that already shape kind of what we're busy with, which is that for a city to win the Tanz Triennale for their home, for their city, it had to be a collaboration between a repertoire company, which is then already a state theater, a house from the free scene, and the city itself. So already there had to be a type of coming together and a willingness to reflect, how are we doing what we're doing, and what is the role of dance right now, and what do we want to give space for? And then simultaneously, as Gwen said, we applied as artistic directors with a vision that I should also say that the Kulturstiftung des Bundes, so the German Federal Cultural Foundation, also wanted to make a statement to expand the genres that are kind of talked about or included inside of these kind of gatherings. So it had to be cross-genre, or as for us, we've identified this as cross-dance culture. There's such deep, rich cultures around each genre and dance form and style in itself. So it already implicitly is about coming together. And so for us, it's not something you can do in one event. It's something that you need to really build spaces for leading up to it, which is, Gwen mentioned, why we've already started with some formats already 1 year ahead of the main event. And one is called Moving Meetings, which is really directed for dance professionals, all the cultural workers in dance from all dance backgrounds and roles, to come together monthly to take on some specific themes. We've already had one, and our next one will come at the end of September, which is taking on dance heritage. How do we define it? What's our relationship to it? Are we deepening inside of it, or are we breaking away from it? And, some basic core questions around it. Who's telling the heritage? Who's visible inside of what dance heritage is being shared and recognized, and what needs to shift or change around this. So we'll always be taking on different themes in these moving meetings, ranging from well-being to dramaturgy to dance education. for 1 full year up to the main event. And then we also, as you probably have already heard, we launched an open call called Counterbalance, where we support the research and short creations in 2 different categories, which is 2 dance artists coming together across dance cultures, dance backgrounds, or a dance artist and someone from outside of the dance sector, outside of the performing arts sector. So really trying to support the question around what is the role and relationship of dance knowledge in relationship to other sectors. So we're supporting research and short creation residencies around that. And then we'll also have a format called All Moves, where the public can come and dance. And we don't announce ahead of time what the dance style is or who the dance artist is. It's a bit of a mystery, but it's a chance to meet dance and to really also, Gwen and I are very interested to really make visible the many different ways to dance. That the dance, when we talk about the dance, it's like polyphonic already, but often not visible that way. So this is also a mission for us personally to try to really expand that awareness.
And just to add, for the moving meetings, why call it moving meetings? Because we really move those gatherings and meeting different locations. Also try to embody different physical building, but also invite people to visit different places where we are traveling. So that is moving in the city as well.
Yeah, because especially from the place of understanding that there's some hot zones of where the dance is happening, but they're not like the places that are more on the periphery, let's say, who often don't have visibility, are also vital for the dance scene and vital for the dancers' lives and the community's lives. And so we need to move our meetings also to those zones and those spaces to make those spaces visible and to also acknowledge what's being developed there as well.
Yeah, it's a very beautiful idea, because I also do feel that the dance world is so broad, but we often tend to focus on just one area, one genre, as you said, and then neglect also the other practices. Then also the question is, if we probably could have several dance houses in one city, we could distribute different genres into one, but it's actually so much more exciting to create a space where we can all meet and share, and then also discover that despite technical differences, there is so much things we have in common, and we share love for movement and beliefs that the movements matters, that daily practice matters. So that's I hope that the audiences, the citizens of Warsaw, will have an opportunity also with the new venue, with the new house, to discover it as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Send our good vibes.
Yeah,
of course.
We look forward to visiting it.
Yeah, exactly.
Great, and I hope that we will meet live, not via Zoom, next time in Warsaw for the opening and dance together. But I would also love to, of course, I hope also to visit Tanz Triennale when it happens in June. I just would love to ask you what you plan. Do you already know what you plan for the June event, and what is the dream outcome of this? How do you think about it?
Well, I will start with, and then you can add on. We're going to kick off with a parade on June 14th. Because it feels really important to bring dance to the streets. There's a lot of dance living in Hamburg already, in many different layers and ways, and we want to bring dance to the streets, but also to kick off our event with joy and with pleasure and with meeting each other and to celebrate. And we hope that energy carries us through the week, where we'll also then have dance on stages and in public spaces. You'll find dance in museums, you'll find performances, but you'll also find workshops, discursive events, panel discussions. We'll have a 4-day forum, which is both for dance professionals and also open to the public, to really engage in the many different layers and role that dance is playing and busy with and investigating and specific about. Yeah. Do you want to add, Gwen?
Yeah, in short, that we're actually building virtual dance houses or dance center, to invite different dance communities to come over, and also general public
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
Tanztriennale is addressed to dance professionals, but also general public. And that's the brilliant idea, or exciting idea that we would like to create this parade and invite different communities to join and really be present on street in public space.
Now, when I listen to you also, I kind of got a crazy question, maybe crazy, maybe not, you tell me, because we talk a lot about what dance can give to our audiences and societies, and how the knowledge the dance artists are developing, generating can be shared. But also, do you think we dance people can learn something from our audiences?
100%. 100%.
Sure.
And it has to be two-way street. Like I think this is really, really vital that we point at that. Remember, I said earlier that the way I understood some of the skills that I had been training since childhood to become a dancer, I only understood or processed while in dialogue and while in exchange. And what I've witnessed inside of a lot of the projects that I've been guiding and developing and supporting and accompanying of dancers working with different people in society, it also is affecting the dance practice in a very important way. It's creating dance practices that are more diverse, that are more inclusive, that are taking on, that are also being more defined and specific because of the exchanges. So meaning the dance practices or the dance performances are starting to look less like each other and less similar, because the dancers are being exposed to more examples and more interfacing with the general public, and like to really, I'm also just seeing like different bodies on stages, like different topics being taken on. So I think this also works that are becoming more readable because they're having more interfacing with the general public. So I think that these exchanges are really, really vital for the art form as well. And we need to situate it in that way.
Yeah, I must also echo what Monica saying. I do believe that we can learn, and I actually learn a lot from audiences. And also because before the show or after the show, if you have the opportunity to have this post talk, or even before the show, just give few sentences about this work or why we choose these programs to be seen here. That makes a huge differences, because audience or people who are present there, watch shows or listen to what you share, they will immediately connect, and they will come to you and also share what they see, what they don't like, or they like. And I think that's a brilliant way to make the space for this kind of conversations without pressure.
Yeah.
And also to be really there and be listening, and also having their own different opinions on it. I think it's definitely a good way.
I also believe that to take away this pressure, we need to come back again to the art of hosting, of the art,
Yes.
what kind of spaces and how we do create, and how do we open up for this feedback, this relevant information that comes from our audiences, that allow us to grow, to change, and also to respond with maybe
Yeah,
more
exactly.
accurate and more exciting formats, new formats that we as professional movers maybe might not even think of. And then, yeah, I agree that studying and being in touch with different physicalities, it's such an incredible experience, opening up actually the perspective also on this diversity, and also accessibility and equity. I mean, the three magic words that became famous recently, also banned from different contexts, and that also are constituting one of the major beliefs also of us all, right? That we build our dance places to cultivate this values, and to make dance accessible for more and more and more audiences, more and more bodies. And I actually already am envious to Warsaw dance community and Warsaw audiences that they will have finally their place to meet regularly and check. So if you would like to say 1 or 2 words why it is important and how we can convince our supporters that it's really relevant to support these initiatives, what would you say?
I think there was something that I was just listening to you about, like the word practice came up while I was listening to you, like how, especially because diversity, equity, inclusion are more and more demonized. As that happens, how do we continue to practice the act of creating those spaces? And I think something that dancers and dance makers and anyone who's contributing to making dance production, it's a constant practice. You're constantly rehearsing, you're constantly trying. And I think that act of trying and trying to create something different, trying to create something responsive to an idea or a situation or to the bodies in the room, that practice, that capacity to practice is what we can't lose and what is vital that we keep doing. And dance is the best place to do it, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think making space and making a home for dance is for everyone, and also to find their own space in that new space. I think it's to find the belongings as well through the body encounters and to reconnect, and also these humanized actions and this real touch is the way we can bring people together, bring the society together.
Yeah, it's beautifully said. Thank you very much for that. I hope that we all find our space in the Warsaw dance space and we meet us there with our colleagues and audiences. I cross fingers for Tanz Triennale, for all your activities.
Thank you.
I hope that also Polish artists will apply and show up in that context, and that we can share experiences and build this huge European or pan-world coalition.
Great, yeah.
Exactly, to dance together. Thank you very much for your insights and reflections. And yeah, let's cross fingers for both.
Yeah.
Thank you
Warsaw
very
and
much,
Hamburg.
Joanna.
Thank you so
Exactly.
much.
For your moderation and questions,
Yeah.
and really,
Yeah,
rich.
it's my pleasure, and I can't wait when we can practice everything we dream of together.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah,
Have a good
very
day.
much.
All the best.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.